What up, what up, what up? Welcome, Shawn and Maya in the morning on this Hump Day edition. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm your boy, the Superback, Shawn Sierra, and I am fired up, baby. Let me tell you what, I am fired up. We got a lot of sports to talk about. Guys, listen, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, well, you know what? I guess you found us on Facebook. Now, you can also tweet the show. You can tweet us at SM_morning or at SportsZone Shy, that's CHI, at SportsZone Shy. Now, if you want to follow me, just me, personally online, want to know what I did? Let me tell you what I did. Want to know what I did? Here's what I did. I made it nice and easy for you folks. Nice and easy. One handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, the Snapper. All one handle at the Shawn Sierra. And here she is. She's in the background. She's in backstage. She's ready. She's bobbing. She got a little sweat going on her head. Actually, no, because she's got a hairdo. Well, look at her with a new hairdo. My co-host, the co-pilot in this insanity, the one, the only, the incomparable herself, Lil Savage, Maya Kai. What up, Maya?
Yeah, the cat's out the bag on that one. Thank you, Joseph. Yes, you're right about that. It's like, oh, you can take that word sweat out the conversation because you're right, because my hair is straight. So that's minimizing on sweating, just because obviously I'm trying to like keep the curls away at least for a couple days. So there you go.
Man,
so
you got a hot date or something tonight? She all decked out and everything.
This is what's funny when people, because like now you're like the third person that you got a date. I said, what, you people think I only comb my hair when I have a date? That's the first thing. No. People with curly hair know when you cut your hair. So it was time for me to trim my fur. You have to straighten your hair because you can't cut it when it's curly. So every 6 to 8 weeks, I get my hair straight so I can have it trimmed. That's it. Nothing special. Nothing special. No hot dates, though I'm perfectly open to a hot date. But yeah, no, that's not the reason. There you go. So
you got a photo shoot tonight? Nothing? No.
Yeah. Nope. Not at all. Just me doing the show. There you go. Me and my little Thundercats background. I'm still rocking. There you go. That's it. Of course, awesome. You can follow me, but I make it real simple. Right there on the screen, Maya Kai, Maya_Kai, Instagram, at the Sports Chica, Facebook and Twitter, right there on the screen.
Man, I would be remiss if we didn't bring up our man, the guy, the man behind the curtain, the Wiz himself. He is our Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, Ivan Vargas. Ivan, what's up, Papa? How are you?
Come on in. He's on down the road.
Oh man, I'm happy you're like up and at 'em right now. Thank you for the music. Good morning, guys. What's up?
Okay. How you doing, buddy? Are you surprised you didn't? You're not in the corner sucking your thumb after that when we gave you 2 nights in a row. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you got lucky. I didn't get to come after you. I was like, man, I don't get to go after Ivan and Joseph. I gotta wait till Wednesday.
See, I was waiting. I was thinking, I was like, man, Maya's been very quiet. Maya's been very quiet, and I was like, once you go from like on the text to on the show, you go from Maya to Little Savage, and then it's like all hands. Everything's just done. Everything's done. So I was fully expecting a retaliation, but it is what it is. Because it's a couple fake wins. Go ahead.
Oh, look at that fake win. Look.
Pat yourself on the back.
Not fake wins. And even Joseph talked about this Monday when he was on What's Up Cuz with Lance and Jason. And this conversation is these games are indicative of the 6 matchups. Isn't it 6 matchups we see during the regular season now?
It was supposed to be 6, but that was 4. Don't ask me why.
Is it 4? Okay. Yeah. So believe it or not, those 4 games won't just be the fun the Crosstown Classic. Those 4 games are going to really mean something this season. But I will tell you this, and we're going to talk some baseball. I wasn't jumping for joy over the wins. I mean, I enjoyed them because really – it was interesting to see the pitching, the hitting, and I'll be honest, we didn't get the best of the Cubs until you took, Hendricks out of the game. You know what I'm saying? So I'm open. I'm not going to overthink it. You might want to get rid of, is his name Cotton?
Dude, hey.
That's bloody Cotton.
I already have his bags packed.
I was like.
I had his bags packed after his last pitch thrown.
I was like, if you struggled with Strop until Strop, had found his rhythm, I was like, I'm hoping this is not a real solution they think they have, because that's when the Sox got the best of the Cubs. Real talk.
But here's the caveat. As bad as Cotton was, he did only give up. He gave up that first pitch the base hit, the double, which scored 2 runs. Those 2 runs were attributed to you. Oh, no, to Hendricks. Excuse me. To Hendricks. So that gave him 3 runs. So the first 3 runs were all attributed to the professor. So the other ones, Cotton got the dog snot.
Oh, he got rocked. But this is my thing with the lack of bullpen help that the Cubs have had with the past couple of years. You don't want to see that. You do not want to see that. These games, like these are fake games. Like I joke about the fake wins, but you're about to play a 60-game sprint where you need to be on fire right now, and that was not on fire. Like that was those are meatballs. Those are like 6 straight meatballs, dude.
It just goes to show you the lack of a spring training. What that does, how important spring training is, because some of those balls from you, Darvish, from the professor, a lot of those hung over the plate, and there's not enough bite in their breaking balls right now, and that's just because they just haven't had enough chance to practice spring training. Now you can throw, but it's a whole different scenario when you're practicing back in in a high school by your house or wherever, as opposed to when you're in camp with your players, with your teammates. That's a whole different thing. So we'll see. It's we talked about it's going to be who gets out of the gate the fastest has a good chance. Not the best, definitely not going to win, but has a good chance. If you get out slow, you might as well just hang it up and just start playing all the rookies.
There you go. All right.
Anyway, well, listen, guys. You know how we do. Well, actually, we got a great show for you today. I almost forgot. Talk about my guest, our great show, good friend of the program, man. He covers damn near everything. He covers the Bears. He covers the Bulls. He covers the Cubs. We're going to have him on for Cubs Talk today. Our good friend, Louis Medina. He's coming from Bleacher Report. Good to have him back on. We haven't had him on in a minute. So we're going to talk. We can go Bears, Cubs, and Bulls with this guy. This guy could do, this is what we like. A lot of our guests, they're multi-faceted and multi-talented. So 9:30, the bottom of the hour, he's calling in, and we're going to talk a little Cubs baseball with Louis Medina. Well, guys, you know how we do the first segment of every show. It's called Top of the Morning Tea, and this is powered by the Chicago Crusader newspaper. And guys, these are just the hot topics of the night before, just some sports in general. Mm-hmm. Boy, oh boy. Is my man ready? Is he ready?
He's ready. He's ready.
Man. He's ready. He's ready for this. He's ready. He's ready. And joining us from the Chicago Crusader, our good friend, Joseph Phillips, JG3. What's up?
What's up, y'all? Showing a little love to Toronto today.
Yo,
on the stadium?
He's wearing a Pittsburgh Blue Jays jersey?
Yeah, so they have no name on the back.
Because Pittsburgh is bringing him in like we need some extra insurance policy because we know the Pirates ain't going to be doing jack. Maybe the Blue Jays will do something. Come on over. Come on, Bluebirds. Come on.
Put the Jordan logo right here.
That's classic. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Blessed. I'm just enjoying another beautiful day on this wonderful Wednesday. So I'm grateful.
All right.
Okay. Oh, she's nice. We got people. Turn your phone off, Shawn. I was waiting for mine to go. Shawn, turn your phone off.
There you go. But you beat me to it, so you know it. You know the drill.
Well, the first time of the morning topic, the Bears. How was this? The Chicago Bears signed all of their draft picks. Most importantly, number 1 pick Cole Kmet, and second pick cornerback out of Utah. You know what? Let me tell you something. There's a lot of good things happening here. When you have all of your guys are signed, they're going to be in camp. That's huge. That's huge. I know they're getting their OTA stuff. Their Zoom meeting information, but you can't if you miss camp, especially in this crazy time where you haven't had OTAs and involuntary workouts and things like that, to have everybody in camp and to hit the ground running with everybody. And these 2 guys are going to be really, really important. Okay, I don't think Kmet's going to have as bigger role, but he can play a big role as the year goes on. But Johnson is another one. He needs to be there because they're talking about him possibly starting opposite Kyle Fuller. So to have all these guys in camp initially from Jump Street is huge for our Bears.
Well, I think it's extremely important for the fact of we're hearing that conversation about no preseason. So
bingo, another one. How you doing?
So getting ahead of the curve and getting everybody on board and kind of starting to try to create as much chemistry and connection as you can is extremely important. So to me, though this might seem like business as usual, considering everybody can already anticipate this is going to be a different type of season, smart move to get everybody locked up in place. So this is not a conversation like no one's holding out. You don't have to, like we don't have to go through the whole thing like we did with Roquan, before when he wasn't wanting to sign in. It was like, when's he going to sign? When's he going to sign? Done. Let's move forward.
Right. And just in addition to that, they signed, like you said, all 7 of their draft picks. Everybody from tight end Cole Kmet, cornerback Jalen Johnson, outside linebacker Travis Gibson, cornerback Kendall Vendor, wide receiver Darnell Mooney, who I really like. Also Arlington Hembright, Xavier Simmons. And in addition to that, we're going to have a stacked defense. So it's a beautiful thing. I'm glad they got that out the way. Hopefully up next is Allen Robinson's contract, which is what we've been discussing the past 2 weeks. But I'm looking for 2 guys to stand out of those 7, and that is Jalen Johnson, who's top of my list, and Cole Kmet at tight end.
Cool. Well, the next top of the morning topic kind of piggybacks that. Maya, you mentioned it already. No preseason games for the NFL. Man, that throws a monkey wrench in the whole quarterback controversy thing here in Chicago. Is we talked about it the other day. Who has an advantage without OTAs, and now who, especially without any preseason games happening now? I think Mitch Trubisky has a clear-cut advantage over Nick Foles due to his chemistry with the receivers, which he's been working out with them. Nick Foles hasn't been able to get to Chicago due to COVID restrictions, so. It looks like Mitch is going to be the guy. How long he's going to be the guy, that, my friends, is going to be the question.
Definitely. I mean, you're right. Based on opportunity and situation, Mitch is going to be, of course, we already knew he was going to be the starting guy. That was the conversation, was never removed pretty much. I anticipated it, but now it really takes away any kind of question mark because there is no preseason. But now we got to remember, Foles is a seasoned veteran here. He's going to be able to step into this offense and run it like he's been here before. So that to me is not really truly putting him behind the 8 ball. The difference is going to be having that continuity and that chemistry with his receivers. That's the biggest point. But beyond that, you look at this as a situation where, here's what's really sad. And this is how Mitch is not your guy. That we're this far into his experience and time as starting quarterback with the Bears, and we're still questioning his ability, which already tells us he's not that dude. He's not. No. Because we shouldn't be having this conversation where we talk about legitimately like 3-4 years into this. So if he hasn't gotten it by now, despite everything leading up to it, despite having a year with Fox, obviously, which wasn't the best, but there still was development pieces there. Then you come in and you get a year with Nagy, another year with Nagy. So my thing is just that at this point, we shouldn't be wondering. We should know that he's our guy. So this is just more of got to go through the motions and waste. Here's the sad part. We actually have to waste some regular season games with Mitch, which could totally negate where the Bears end up because we lost the preseason to sit his ass down. That's the downside.
That's unbelievable. And typical Bears fashion, our timing is always off. I know like the last, 3 preseasons, we didn't play our starters. And then out of all the years we want to play our starters, there's no preseason. So typical Bears fashion, it just seems like we could never do nothing right, And with Nick Foles coming on the helm, former Super Bowl MVP, I know that he knows the offense like the back of his hand. And then in addition to that, with Mitch Trubisky, he's playing for his starting position. So, like I said, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to 2 things: them knowing the plays and the offensive line. And if we can't execute any of those during the first 2 or 3 regular season games, this season is cooked. So that's unbelievable.
Joe, I agree with you. I don't think that the issues, I think the chemistry is going to be there with Mitch and the other guys. It's the offensive line. And in a situation, in a year like this, when there's no OTAs, there's no involuntary workouts, and there's no working out at the facility, that offensive line play is going to be huge. It's going to be unbelievable. And teams who have returning offensive lines are going to have an advantage. Okay, well, depending on the skill position, you have good skill players, but it doesn't matter how good your offensive line is. But teams who have good skill players, but have returning offensive lines intact, whether they're really good or not, okay, are going to have an advantage because of the lack of preparation time. And I think the Bears, the Bears are. I'm really leery about it because they got a new offensive line coach. His philosophies and his techniques are different than the one they just learned in Harry Heastand. You're losing a right guard. You're adding a new player at right guard, and we talked about it before. Those front three, 2 guards in the center, that's your run game. And this is new, so I'm really concerned about the Bears and how well they do because of their lack of consistency. Because they need a new right guard and a new offensive line coach.
But it's interesting because, see, again, this is what happens when you're a Bears fan. You have to sit here and break down things like this because, one, I know there's a new offensive guy, but I'm still not convinced that Nagy is giving up the reins on this. I feel like he wants a guy who's going to be more in line with what he wants. So I don't know how much of a shift we're going to see and change because I still don't believe that Nagy has given that up. Just because there's a new person in that role, remember there had to be sacrificial lambs last year. So I don't know how much that part of the offensive culture is going to change because I think Nagy is still the person behind it orchestrating it. But I think legitimately, now this is what's interesting. See, the narratives always change. Normally, we kind of downplay the importance of preseason games. And in fact, remember prior to removing them, there was conversations about reducing them because of, do we really need 4 preseason games? Because now it could lead to more injuries. And now that they're gone, look how the narrative has changed. And the value of the preseason game has just been raised exponentially because they're gone. But prior to them being taken away, people were questioning if they were even needed. Shawn, you hit the nail on the head. With teams that are returning back in their previous form, if it was good. So if your offensive line is set, if you're not having quarterback issues, if you feel like your receiving and run game are good, then generally speaking, you're not going to be missing the preseason. Because remember, we use that as a litmus test to test out talents. Your starters usually don't even get in for maybe a couple, reps. You see them maybe the last game. So this isn't about test driving or kicking the wheels on your starters. It's about assessing the talent of your young players. But now all of a sudden, with the Bears, we're still talking about it like it has value. That just goes to show you, as a team, they're still not as prepared as they need to be.
Right. And no matter how many color cards Matt Nagy have in his basement, I know on draft day, he had like color cards for each play in his basement, and I was just like, wow, he's really doing a lot of studying, but I'm just shaking my head because I don't think he has enough time to put together the offensive line. He doesn't have enough time to implement new players into these plays. And then he probably has enough time to get the timing down with the quarterback and wide receiver. So during preseason opportunities it was pretty much going to allow us to actually do that. But now it's taken away. Now you're going to see a lot of these mistakes in the regular season.
I know, but here's the thing. You're right. With the Bears, because they actually need preseason. It has a purpose for them.
Yeah.
But again, for everybody else, it's business as usual. It's just they're not getting the warm-up that they normally would get to go into the regular season. That's it. It's like, out the gates. Your first game, you got to come out the gates. You're prepared. You didn't get to get that warm-up that you get in preseason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's going to be very interesting. Well, the next top of the morning topic, the IHSA has delayed a decision until the 29th of this month, July 29th, on fall sports. My goodness, this puts a huge monkey wrench in the program. And we're talking about the fall sport. We're talking about football. We're talking about wrestling. We're talking about everything in the fall. And most importantly, football. This has a very big effect on a lot of young men. For me, I don't see the decision. I don't see what you're waiting on. Move the football season to the spring. Move it to the spring. End of story. Period. Okay. There's a lot of things. One, now the COVID thing, hopefully will be under control, or at least in a downslide at that. 6 months down the road. Okay, 5 or 6 months down the road. Two, revenue. A lot of high schools, they have their budget. Their athletic budget is based on their football and basketball attendance. So you're not going to be able to have people at the games now if you even have the games. I just think just make it be safe, be smart. Move it to the spring. And I know it's a weird thing because it's going to affect the players who graduate early and there's always a handful of high school players who graduate early, and then they enroll in the college they're going to in the spring semester so they can play spring ball. But the way it's going, college might be played in the spring as well. If we continue this outbreak continues, especially down in those southern states, the Florida, the Texas, the Arizonas, and the Californias, we're and even here in Chicago, we're more restrictions are being put back on people. Maybe all of college football, high school, college football, and I don't even know. I'm scared to say maybe in the NFL might be pushed to the spring.
That's correct. And in addition to that, I was actually walking through Hyde Park yesterday, and I ran to the cornerback of Kenwood, Miles Young, and he looked like he'd been in the weight room. I told him, I said, I know you're ready to get out there and hit somebody. And he was like, man, coach is telling me, man, there's possibly going to be a season. And then, like you said, you just came with this breaking news. They extended it to July 29th. He said originally they was going to hit something by July 24th. But that didn't actually go through. So they're in waiting. They're staying in shape. And just like you mentioned, Shawn, a few weeks ago, how the difference between the Catholic League and the public league, in the Catholic League, in spite of these things going on, they're always going to be prepared. They're always going to have the necessary regiments and resources to follow through on their conditioning program. Now, the public league, on the other hand, they have to find ways to get it done. And most of the times, it's almost like self-governance. If you don't do your workouts and your coach is not around you, you can come back out of shape, and that can hurt you long-term. That can hurt your team long-term. So with that decision, like you said, everything should be pushed to the spring, give everybody a fair chance. I feel sorry for those seniors who were going to actually get those scholarship looks, because actually a few Kenwood students just committed to Boston College.
Saw that.
Yeah, so they're top players. They're top 2 players. So
here's the thing. Their talent doesn't diminish because it's not going to be showcased like it normally would be. Trust me, Boston College had already made the decision based on their body of work they've seen coming into this season. If nothing else, you guarantee no injuries and they stay a little bit healthier coming into their college career, if nothing else. I think what's really key, and this is sometimes where I think the conversations get a little too fragmented. What I'm thinking about is, I don't know. I'm like you, Shawn. I don't know why you're delaying decision on this, because we're trying to figure out how to get kids back to school. Not even playing sports, but kids back to school. So because there's still a struggle with figuring that dynamic out, not to be mean, sports goes on the back burner with this.
Yeah, it does. Not mean at all.
I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm just being honest.
Not insensitive, Maya. We're talking about people's lives here.
And we're talking, right, it's the thing about it, it's a random thing, because we have seen young people die of COVID that didn't fit into the demographics that were high risk. So with that being said, we're still trying to figure out how to get kids back in school, because one, we realize kids, they may tell you how much they hate school, but that socialization piece became a reality for them the minute they couldn't go. Then it was like, whoa, I can't. Parents were like, I love my teachers. You're the best people in the world. People were like, this family stuff is for the birds. I done looked at your ass for about 4 weeks now, and I'm tired of looking at you. Seriously. Everybody realized a little bit too much time is too much time. Seriously. So push it back to the spring and hopefully cross our fingers on this. We're hoping this doesn't look like the Spanish flu, real talk, that this doesn't keep rolling. But at least push it back. Then you'll get to see how other organizations, and let's say how pro teams, you don't have the same resources, but you can at least see how those things fared and maybe get some cues of maybe things that you can attempt to use. Let's be honest. We're not going to be able to test high school players and coaches like they're going to be testing at the pro level. We can't put high school kids in a bubble. Right. So with that being said, there's a higher risk with this population, and understand the only reason it didn't explode in this population was because they shut schools down. If they hadn't shut schools down, do you know how many teens and young people would have had COVID-19? So we protected that population. So this is still an issue that we're still navigating, is how can we get kids just back in school, let alone talk about sports? So
Maya, I just wanted to add to what you were saying, like in this whole situation, I guess I can call it the Ed Howard effect, where, he was named the Gatorade Player of the Year, even though the baseball season was canceled, but it did affect his position in the draft, because he was supposed to have more power this season, and it probably would have went from a top 16 pick to a top 10 pick. So it's the same way when it comes to most of these seniors who looking to come back, they probably had a bad junior year, looking to come back their senior year and perform on a higher level, but they won't be given that opportunity this year. So it's going to be kind of tough for them to actually display those skills, other than doing some workout videos and posting it on YouTube.
Well, it affects people like me. All right, see, my junior year I didn't play.
Right.
Okay, I played, but I was on the sideline. There was a big fullback. He was a big bruising. Back then he was like 215, 220 pounds. Back in when I played, that was a big for a fullback. And so I got no time on the field. Okay, I was literally like 180, 185 max my junior year. So there's no tape of me unless you pan the sidelines. There was no tape of me as a junior in high school. And so what happened is, the entire offseason, I lived in the weight room. I started pushing cars at Market Park. There was a whole bunch of crazy things that I did to get stronger. And then my senior year is when people, noticed me, and that's where a lot of people took notice. So there's going to be a lot of people who are in my same position who didn't get a lot of playing time as juniors. They busted their ass in the weight room and conditioning and getting bigger, stronger, faster. And we're probably going to have a breakout year this year, which would have gotten them an offer. And luckily for me, I was able to go. Holy Cross saw me, and they liked what they saw. This is going to have an effect on those kids, especially those inner city kids who may not have the financial means to actually pay for a college. So that's what I'm really upset. That really sucks. This whole thing is like those kids who really worked their tail off for their senior year to be leaders, to get noticed, to get a scholarship, and now that chance is taken away from them. So that really sucks. Well, listen, we have one more morning topic, and I want to because Joe brought it up earlier, so I wanted to mess with this. The Detroit Pistons are upset over the new NBA alternate jerseys because the new NBA alternate jerseys are sponsored by Nike, a Nike subsidiary, Jumpman. So you got Michael Jordan's logo, his Jumpman, his Air Jordan logo, the Jumpman logo is going to be on the chest of the Detroit Pistons. I love it.
Love it. Well, here we go again, okay? It all started back in the All-Star game, 1984, and the war continues. And like you said, the Pistons and the Bulls never got along.
Ever. And
their fan base is totally ticked off that their number one nemesis will be on their jersey as one of their sponsors. And, hey, at the end of the day, it all is going to come back to you at the end. All that bullying that they were doing against us, from 87 to 1990 and
1990, yep.
91. The Bulls been one up in the Pistons ever since. And I know you got guys like Vincent Goodwill who wants to defend the Pistons and and say that the Bulls were crybabies and everything like that. But at the end of the day, Michael's gonna have the last word. And
ain't that the truth?
He's definitely got the last word.
That's the truth, Joseph. Do you see the memes where they have Michael and there are memes where they say, now the Piston fans are mad, and from the documentary they got him laughing because he got the last word. I think that's awesome.
Right.
I think that's awesome. And I know Vinny Goodwill was definitely one of the guys who was talking about the Bulls being crybaby, but you really weren't, because there was back then when it was more physical, there's a greater chance of being injured. And that was one of the reasons why the rules changed, was because of the Pistons. Was because imagine if Michael had been seriously hurt. Imagine if he landed wrong and broke his wrist. Landed if he, there's so many different things that happen when you're in the air. And the Pistons weren't trying to block shots. They were trying to prevent you from scoring. So they were hitting you big time. Mm-hmm. And there's so many different things that could have happened to Michael or anyone else or Scott or any other stuff, because it wasn't just the Bulls they were bullying. They were bullying everybody. Right. And that's the reason that the rules changed was because of that. You can't have a Michael, and what if it was a Magic, or what if it was a Dominique, or what if it was someone else who, they're out, two stars would be out with a broken leg or broken wrist or something. There goes your marketability with your top stars because they're hurt at the hands of the Pistons. So no, the Pistons were that was the brand of basketball they played. I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. I was always a fan of physical play. But they didn't toe the line. They stepped over. They jumped over it back and forth, and they had no regard for anybody's health.
That's correct. And I know that Isaiah Thomas, like I said, he always come on with the angel face, smiling like he never did anything wrong. But at the end of the day, he was the number one culprit. Okay, so don't try to act like your hands aren't dirty.
Mm-hmm.
He went on this whole apology tour during the last dance. Try to make it look like that Michael was wrong for not forgiving him and everything, but he still hasn't. He hasn't apologized. You see what I mean? Like he's still trying to hold on to that grudge. And Michael Jordan has moved on, just like he said. Hey, once a dirty player, always a dirty player, and you're still up to your same tricks. We're not falling for it. Therefore, let the rivalry continue.
Hey, listen, guys, we got to run. I know go ahead, Mike. We'll give you like 10, 15 seconds. We got to run. But go ahead.
No, I'm like, look, Jordan was never worried about it. Real talk. And not only was he never worried about it, he's like, and now I get to put my stuff on your jersey and keep crying, Isaiah. He was never worried about that. Mike didn't care about that. Whatever.
Mike, his vision was global. It wasn't Midwestern. It was global.
Right.
It's always been global.
Right. He's not thinking about Isaiah. And I get it. I mean, I get it that they may be in their feelings about that being on their jersey. I can get it because I might be a little bit in my feelings too about it. But that's what happens when you have the premier superstar, a legend, a GOAT in the league. See what happens, Isaiah? Isaiah used to come here and ball in Chicago. He knows not to play with Chicago like that.
Right. And I almost feel bad for Isaiah. Almost, because you're the man in Chicago, come from the West Side, a great story. And then you got your hometown taken away from you by Michael.
I mean, so think about it. There's layers to his being in his feelings about it.
Oh, yeah.
An outsider came in and took over your city. He's still gone.
Give me that.
He's still gone. And we're still madly in love with him. And we say, oh, we see you, Isaiah. We respect you. But Michael, that's just how it is. I'm sorry. You can't be Mike. And that's never going to change. I'm sorry.
That's it. Well, listen, guys, we got to take a quick break. Hey, Joseph, thank you very much. We appreciate it, buddy. We look forward to your Friday. Let everyone know where they can find you, buddy.
Please visit us at ChicagoCrusader.com and also SC Media News and Sports. And I hope you guys like the story that I wrote to you guys last week. I gave y'all some love. I know I dropped some nicknames in there.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah. So
you could have mentioned I played professional football. That would have been nice.
Yes, I'm so sorry, man. But those nicknames are bad to the bone. I love them. So
hey, all kidding aside, good work, man. We appreciate it, man. We really, really do.
All right, God bless you.
All right, see you Friday. Bye-bye.
All right, see you. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, we got to take a quick break. And on the other side of the break, my man is waiting. He's like a bull in a corral. He's ready. He's ready to come out with us. He's got a lot to talk about. We can't wait. Luis Medina on the other side of the break, so don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Tough news for the Blackhawks as they get set to resume the NHL season. Jonathan Toews has been ruled unfit to participate and didn't practice with the team on Tuesday, a day after he left practice early. Meanwhile, GM Stan Bowman is hopeful Corey Crawford can return for the postseason. At this point, nothing's been ruled out, he said. The Blackhawks and Oilers are scheduled to play a 5-game qualifying round series. Cubs manager David Ross, ready for his first season at the helm, he told reporters how he's approaching things.
I've got a veteran team. I've got a veteran organization. Guys that have been around a long time. I've got a great coaching staff that's helped me in my first year take care of all these little details, and I think we're moving in the right direction. It's been fun, and we can't wait to get started.
The Cubs open the season Friday against the Brewers. The White Sox are home against the Twins. Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep. Chuck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Breathe out and repeat after me. Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Your bird is eating my candles.
Your bird is eating my candles.
No, seriously, he's making a mess.
No, seriously, he's...
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Get a customized quote at libertymutual.com.
Hey, save that bee. We need him.
Did you know pollinators are more than just honeybees? Did you know 1 in 3 bites of food is made possible by pollinators? That's why Prairie View A&M Cooperative Extension is planting for pollinators this summer. Design your own pollinator garden. Take photos and share. Visit agnearme.com. That's agnearme.com to download our pollinator garden guide today. Let's get planting.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. Man, that was a great segment with Joe Phillips. That was awesome. Our top of the morning segment. We have a guest. Oh man, it's a good friend of ours, and man, we're gonna give him a little static, but he covers the Cubs. Man, where do we go with him? He covers the Cubs, he covers the Bulls, he covers the Bears. All from Bleacher Report. Man, he's a good friend of ours. You can find him on Twitter at LCM1986. Guys, just welcome to Shawn and Maya. Welcome back to Shawn and Maya. Luis Medina. Luis, what's up, Papa? How are you?
Good morning. How are you? I'm doing great.
Hey, now.
Look, you don't know what your little Bleacher Nation shirt, your little professional mic. I see you, Papa. I see you.
Right.
Moving on up, man. It's the quarantine got me wanting to upgrade some things.
I feel like I need a new mic. You started talking, I was like, whoa. Hey, now.
I see you.
Right. I'm like, I need a new mic. Oh my God. No. All right.
At Amazon right now over on the show. Amazon.
Amazon. I got a good deal on it. I'm sure there's some more deals to be had.
Yes. Good stuff.
Hey man, it's good to have you back, Papa. Really good. We haven't talked in a while, and we have a lot to talk about. So hopefully we have a little bit of time because we're probably going to talk a couple teams, but we're going to start off with your Cubs because I know you're not too happy about the I know you got a lot of flack from people like us, Sox fans, so we're going to give you more. We swept you, we beat your ass, and that was good, and we were happy. But the most important thing is that you want to look at the Professor. What happened to Professor? He had 4 strong innings, okay, and I was actually worried. I'm like, oh, damn, dude, he's dealing. This dude is dealing, like, not again. And then they were able to come through, and then Yu Darvish got touched up a little bit. Give me your thoughts on those. I mean, those are your 2 big guns. I know you got Lester in the background too, and Q's just started pitching, but those are your 2 big guns, Yu Darvish and the Professor.
Yeah, so thinking about the Cubs this year, like they really need to win as many of the Kyle Hendricks and Yu Darvish starts as they can this year if they want to be competitive in the NL Central this year. Kyle Hendricks looked fine through 4 innings. I think
boy, I was scared.
He was feeling.
I think in a regular season game, he probably they probably allow him to get through that inning. Maybe he gives up the lead. Maybe it's 2-1, 3-1 Sox. But once you get to a point in exhibition season, you're not gonna lay him out to dry. So you bring in Cotton, which I thought was a weird decision because he's not a reliever by trade. He's a starter by trade. He's a guy who in the spring worked, at the start of innings. He's not a guy who kind of comes in and cleans up other guys' messes. So I thought that was weird. But if there's ever a time to do weird things and maybe try something different with a guy that you haven't tried before, it's the exhibition season. So I was pretty happy with Kyle Hendricks. Yu Darvish, different story. Looked like he was tinkering a lot. Looked like he was trying to find some things. And again, no better time to do it than now, in an exhibition game. But the velocity was there. The movement on pitches was there. The sequencing for pitches wasn't there for me, and I chalked that up to, it being an exhibition game. But games start Friday. His next start is Saturday. So this should be ironed out by now. But this is such a weird year. It's hard for me to be really, really mad because we just got summer camp started again. So those 2 guys are probably the least of my concerns. It's after Lester. Who's gonna Q isn't gonna pitch for a while? Is Alec Mills a guy? Is Tyler Chatwood a guy? Tyler Chatwood was a nice little middle reliever last year, and now they're kind of throwing him to the Lions and hey dude, we're paying you a good chunk of money to be a starter. You don't have to start now.
Yeah, that rotation is going to be huge. I still have confidence in your lineup. We got Maya. You ready? We have Javi Baez in there still. We got to give Maya a second. She loves him some Javi. You got Brizzo, O'Brien, Rizzo. You have Wilson Contreras. You got Jason Hayward, who really improved his hitting last year. So that's 4 or 5 guys in that lineup you're not worried. And I forget, baby Ruth in Kyle Schwarber. So you have five legitimate sticks in that lineup. So I'm not worried about the offense. The thing that I'm worried about is two things: the defense and the pitching. Okay, defense I'm not worried about with Javi, of course, because he's just unbelievable as far as everywhere on the field. He's awesome. But the defense and the pitching, without that pitching, there's cause for concern. Give me your thoughts on this very tough NL Central.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's going to be – this whole thing might be decided by pitching and defense, and it's crazy how the two are interconnected. If the Cubs had a better they had a better strikeout staff, I wouldn't be worried about I wouldn't be as worried about the defense because they wouldn't be as active. But other than Darvish, they don't really have a big strikeout staff. So that's going to put the onus on the defense to kind of, make plays behind you. Man, I made point of it on Monday and on Sunday. I do not like Ian Happ in center field. I think Ian Happ does, people can say I hate Ian Happ, and I don't hate Ian Happ. I just don't like how he plays center field. And there's a big difference. I look at him and I see a guy who's a second baseman by trade, but actually good in left field. He takes decent routes as a left fielder, but you put him in center, it looks like he doesn't know how to play the position. That's such an important position to not have someone who's really good there is a problem. So what do you do? Do you put Jason Hayward there? But then you're weakening right field. So then who's in right field? Right. Steven Souza showed the other night that he really can't play in left field because he takes weird and bad routes. So there are questions. I think the best decision might be to throw Nico Horner out there and look, 60-game season. You might have to try and do some weird things to win some games, and that might be it.
So let me ask you this. So generally speaking, we look at the Cubs and say, seasoned team, talented, that's not the question. But there does seem like there's some areas where there are some question marks about who they have, if they're the right fit. And it sounds like if they're not the right fit, there may or may not be somebody to put in there. So here's my question. Does this become a bigger challenge for a first-time manager in David Ross, who honestly, he's coming into this role as a player. He's never had to manage these situations this way. Does this kind of become one of his biggest challenges, is figuring out how to put the best person in those roles based on an abbreviated system and what he has?
Yeah, I've heard some people talk about David Ross this year, everyone's kind of in the same situation with the weird season, the shortened season.
No.
But really it's not, though, because everyone's got a weird season, right, and there's going to be weird things to handle, but he still has yet to handle the normal manager stuff that everyone else has experience in, whether it's lineups and, trying to find the right fit.
Player switch.
It's going to be a tougher challenge. And with 60 games, he won't have a chance to adjust because, in 162, I always say 162 evens everything out. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from things that went well. There's not time for that adjustment period in a 60-game season. So I'm looking at David Ross here, and he's really gonna have to lean on his staff in order to really get the most out of this team as a manager.
Guys, we're joined by Louis Medina from Bleacher Nation, talking a little Chicago Cubs baseball right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. So you know what? Where do you think this? Talk to me about the relievers, right? Because we talked about the starting staff, and we talked about O'Q's just starting to pitch, so we don't know when he's going to get there. You still have Lester in there, who's actually, it's really weird how Dustin's fallen down in the rotation when a few years ago he was legitimately, unquestionably the number one guy. Just age, Father Time is undefeated. But talk to me what's more importantly about, what if you do get 5, maybe 6+ innings out of your starter, then you got to go to the bullpen. How are you feeling about your bullpen?
So many question marks in that bullpen. Craig Kimbrell, we saw him last year not look like the Craig Kimbrell of old, and a lot of that was attributed to, he had the weird offseason because he didn't sign until June, and he didn't have a normal ramp-up period. And then this year happens, and guess what? Weird offseason, didn't really get ramped up until the summertime, and now he comes in. He shaved off his face. I didn't even know who he was. That don't look like Craig Kimbrell. Who is this imposter? And so he's out there throwing 95. The breaking stuff looked good, but man, if you're gonna be hitting 95, you better be locating, or else those balls are gonna get hit. There's some other guys I like in that bullpen. Like I like Jeremy Jeffress. He throws hard, throws a heavy ball. Rowan Wick was a guy last year who kind of came on the scene. Beyond that, though, man, so many questions, so many concerns. But then I look at like the rest of the division, and I feel like everyone except maybe like the Brewers, because the Brewers have the lockdown closer and Hader. Everyone has questions. Even the Reds. The Reds have a really good closer in Iglesias, but he always seems like he's on a short leash, and he goes through like weeks where he struggles, and like you really can't have weeks where you struggle because 10 games that's a good chunk of your season.
So I mean, is it okay? And it's interesting because they go into this season with, you have to feel at least the starting rotation is good. Maybe not necessarily the best, but good enough to get wins. But then we're talking about the bullpen might be their Achilles heel. So let me ask you a question. Does inserting the DH into this season, does this kind of help with giving a little extra insurance policy and getting some extra, like an extra bat in there that can be hot? AK like Schwarber should probably be the DH most of the time. But is that something that might end up being advantageous for the Cubs, considering there is some issues with their bullpen and middle relief?
It's a double-edged sword because, like, the DH, I think about it, like you said, I think Schwarber should be the guy, but, I mean, then what are you doing with your outfield defense? Because that means, Hampson left, is Almora in center? Well, then if Almora's in center, then you're weakening your offense. But, so the DH works as a double-edged sword because you are lengthening your lineup traditionally by getting a DH, but that means the other team gets the DH too, so their lineups are getting better. It should make the game easier to manage for David Ross. There's not going to be double switching that most managers and the National League managers have to deal with. So that should be easy. And roster management should be easier too because you're not needing – well, first of all, you're getting 30 guys on a roster to start the year anyway. But also you're not going to need extra guys knowing like, well, I'm going to double switch here, so I'm going to need an extra defender here and there just to cover my losses just in case it comes to it. So it's weird. I grew up not liking the DH because I liked watching guys try to hit because they, look, you're the best. It's like I always used to equate it to someone having to shoot Shaq's free throws for him. Like, you let Shaq shoot his free throws. He's a man, let him shoot his free throws. But then I remember seeing Matt Garza when he came from the Rays. Like, he didn't even try it. And, like, I was at a game. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm done with pitchers hitting because if these guys give me some AAA bum or nobody or anyone who will put the effort in to make it work, I would rather see that than a guy who just like stands up there and does this and then walks back to the nah, man. I paid good money to watch the ball, so you better try. Like, at least do that.
That's what, guys. We're joined by Louis Medina from Bleacher Nation, talking a little Cubs baseball right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. So here's another thing. Who's your leadoff guy? I know you have Bryant there. Is he the answer in this short season? I mean, I understand the concept of get your best batters to bat the most often. Okay, I get it. But is he the guy you want setting up the rest of the bats? Because he is one of those big bats. Do you want that big bat to lead off, or would you rather have someone to set up the rest of the big bats in that lineup?
See, I liked Rizzo leading off because it's something he's done before. It's something that it's a position that suits his skill set even when he's not hitting for power. Rizzo has these kind of power outages where like the homers are more doubles and singles. He takes his walks. He takes good at bats. And he's used to it. But this is new to Chris Bryant. Bryant has had his issues with guys on base from time to time. And because of those issues, I can see why, well, maybe if you lead him off, this won't be much of a problem. He's not fast, but he's a really good base runner. He's smart. He takes good angles. Considering who else is on the team, he's probably the best option right now. Ideally, in an ideal world, Bryant bats 2 or 3 with Nico Horner batting first. So you probably go righty, lefty, righty. You go Horner, Rizzo, Bryant, Schwarber, Baez. If you want to go right, left, right, left, right. And then we're talking about Wilson Contreras is your 6 hitter. Like, Now we're talking about a deep lineup.
Yep.
But man, this offense hasn't really been the same since Dexter Fowler left for St. Louis. I mean, they had some time with John Jay when he was at the top of the lineup. Zobrist would have been a perfect guy at the top of the lineup, but he's retired. So, yeah, I think finding a good leadoff hitter is hard. I think we in Chicago have been spoiled. Like I was having this conversation with a friend a couple weeks ago. Like both sides of town, we had Tim Raines growing up with the White Sox. We had some guys. I remember like Kenny Lofton being, even though it was a short season, him being the leadoff guy for the Cubs was good. I remember we had Lance Johnson also with the White Sox. So
One Dog.
Yeah, the One Dog. So like Chicago's had some decent leadoff guys at the top of the order. We get kind of spoiled, and then when it's not all there, and then it's an issue.
We go back a little even further, man. We're talking Bobby Dernier. This is before your time. Yeah, but it was the daily doubles. Bobby Dernier, and then Ryan Sandberg was the number 2 hitter for the Cubs. That's how much of a baseball fan I was. Even though I didn't like the Cubs, I loved them. They were always on, so you had a chance to watch them, and they were called the daily double. Daily double of Bobby Dernier and Ryan Sandberg, 1 and 2. So yeah, it is a little frustrating. How do you feel about the rest of everybody else? Rizzo, let's talk about Rizzo in particular. Rizzo hasn't been practicing. They said he's good. He's probably going to play in the final preseason game. You guys got the Twins today, if I'm not mistaken, because they're going to come over town for Friday or Saturday's game. How do you feel about him? Because he lost a lot of weight. He looks good. He looks funny because we're not used to him being so svelte. We're used to him being a little thickums. You know what I'm saying? Maya's the word thickums. We're used to him being a little meaty. Italians like meat. They like to eat. But dude, this dude is slimmed down. Yes. It looks like it hasn't affected his power. But to me, if he's having back issues, and the Cubs could be overprotective, which is fine because he's one of your top your top commodities. But if he's still having back issues, then that's got to be structural. And I'm talking spine and everything else, because the way he worked out, it's not muscular. It can't be muscular. The way he lost weight, he trained and everything. So if it's structural, okay, we're talking the spine. That could be a big thing. Give me your thoughts on Rizzo and how you think in your forecast for his season this year, barring injury.
I mean, barring injury, it's he's the leader. He's your most well-rounded offensive player because he walks, he gets on base, he hits the ball all over the field. The back issues, man, it's like the Masters. It's a tradition unlike any other. Every time, right before the start of the year, right when we get to the build-up, Rizzo has the back issues, and the Cubs are always really cautious. Now, usually we're used to this in April, and the cold weather is a factor. But now it's July, and it's just the warm-up period for him and getting that back. I mean, he's a big dude, 6'4". I don't know how much he weighs anymore because he lost all that weight, but when you're tall, you just have back issues. It just happens. One of my friends, he just turned 30. He was telling me, he's like, man, I'm getting old. I got a chiropractor visit. I'm like, damn, man. He's 6'3". I was just like, man, every time all my tall friends, they hit 30. It's like I got back problems. Rizzo just turned 30. So this is the norm, I guess. I've never been so happy to have been 5'8" in my life.
The non-plight of those who are under 6 feet. I hear you. No, I hear you. That's funny. So let me ask you a question. We know, short season. You must come out the gates like you've been playing all year. There is no space to lose like 5, 6, 7, 8 games. You really can't have a losing streak, or you're like pretty much out of the postseason. Which player, if the Cubs lose a player due to injury for any amount of time, would be detrimental to them really being able to compete? Or do you feel like they have enough with what they have that one person leaving out isn't going to be detrimental to them?
Oh, it's Javi Baez, because they don't really have another shortstop. Nico Horner can play it in a pinch, but man, I saw him in one of the practice games, and his throwing motion just kind of throws me off from shortstop. It just doesn't look natural. But that guy, Javi Baez, a top shortstop, the number 3 hitter in that lineup. You lose him, that lineup gets short, and your infield defense gets worse. Your base running gets worse because Javi does magical things when he's on those base paths. But now we're looking at a guy who impacts the game, offense, defense, base running. They really can't afford to lose him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree 100%. I mean, that's exactly the player that was on my mind. Not just because it's Javi Baez.
On your mind.
But I'm just saying, no, because to me, Javi, when you talked about Rizzo being like the most well-rounded, I think that him and Javi both do unique things for the team. But I have to say that one of the things I felt people never wanted to acknowledge until maybe last season is how integral Javi has been for the last several seasons, almost playing from wire to wire. Had it not been for the injury he had last year, I think, when him and Christian Yelich were, kind of rivaling to see who was going to be MVP and things like that. If Javi hadn't had those missed games due to injury, he's right there in that conversation to me. He's one of them. To me, he is their most valuable player that we always talk about, Rizzo and Bryant. To me, Baez is the player you don't want to lose out of that lineup.
Yeah, the Cubs were in a position to make the playoffs last year in mid-September, and then Rizzo has the ankle injury, Javi has his injury earlier than that, and it just kind of all fell apart. You lose those two players for any stretch of the season is going to be trouble.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's it's tough. Again, it's a tough deal for anybody. Anybody can win it, but especially in that tough NL Central, man, you got a lot. There's a lot of competition in that. You got your 4 teams deep now. Now the Reds, they want the Reds were a pain in your ass always beginning. Even if they were bad, it would always be a thorn in your side for the Cubs.
Yep.
And there's always that team. Doesn't matter who's a top team. They always have that one team that just gives them the flux and gets the best of them on a consistent basis. And that was the Reds. But now the Reds actually got better. So you guys are definitely 4 deep in that division. And that's going to be a tough one coming out of there. With the Brewers, with the Cardinals, and now with the Reds as well. That's going to be a tough one. Who do you think? Give me your thought of who's going to have a surprisingly good season. Like if Javi has a Javi season, we're not surprised because it's Javi. Okay, if or maybe it's Chris Bryant for you because he hits 15 homers or 20 homers in the 60 game. Who do you think is gonna be a pleasant surprise or have a really, really huge year for the Cubs?
I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if this guy had a good year, but Wilson Contreras has breakout year potential. In over 162, you got to get your catchers a certain amount of reps. That long haul, you know what it is. In the 60 games, I don't think you're going to be wanting to rest Wilson Contreras as much. And because you have the designated hitter, if you want to give him a day off from catching, you can move him to the left. You can have Victor Caratini catch. Then Caratini's still a good hitter, really good defender, calls a good game, good pitch framer. I think Wilson Contreras, man, because he'll have more opportunities to be in the lineup, could have the breakout year that – he's a 2-time All-Star, so he's had breakout years. But he can have a bigger year than what we might otherwise think of because, Javi, Bryant, Rizzo, those guys get the attention. And Wilson's just kind of sitting there batting 4th and 5th and picking up RBIs and whatnot and picking off base runners, that are running on him. So, man, and he's so much fun to watch. This is going to be interesting to me. Without fans, how certain players can drive a team. Guys with energy.
Fired up. Yeah.
Guys like Wilson Contreras are going to be really valuable for the Cubs. And if other teams have those high-energy guys, having a high-energy guy is important, but having a high-energy guy who's talented, that's where it's at. That's going to be an X factor for these teams around the league in the 60-game season.
I might as well jump in here because I was talking about getting a rotation. I was waiting for it. He was waiting. He was talking about
I knew you were. I was just waiting for it. I was like,
wait. Here I go.
Lewis Ivins, I know one of your people, Lewis. He's a big Cub fan, unapologetically, and that's fine, unapologetic. And we had this conversation last week about he loves Wilson Contreras. He's a big Wilson Contreras fan. He thinks that he could be. I think I may be speaking for him, but I think Ivan believes he can have a breakout year too because he can be in the lineup and he's not catching all the time. You could throw him in left, you could throw him in DH, and he wants a rotation with him and Caratini, and he thinks that, and then so go ahead. I would just let him know.
Well, my thing is I feel like Caratini, along with Contreras, can have a big year because Caratini's a solid catcher. You could put him at first base. He's obviously the backup catcher. But I think if you give him some more time, some more playing time, which he's going to have if Rizzo, his issues continue, and that if you keep that rotation with Contreras, he might have time to break out too. So I'm like I want to know how you feel about Victor Caratini's year, but I also want to hear about Wilson Contreras' year because it's like Willie last year was supposed to be breaking out, and he was well on his way. But like you said, the past couple of years things kind of just went awry. But yeah, just if How do you feel about Victor Caratini's year coming into the season?
So I really like the Cubs catching combination of Caratini and
combo, yeah.
I mean, I saw Fangraphs kind of rated him in the middle of the pack, and I thought, man, pitch framing, for as important as it is, if that is what sinks that tandem, maybe we need to rethink the formula. Because if you look at what those two guys bring, we know what Willson Contreras is. 2-time All-Star, hits to all fields, high average, good defender, throws guys out, blocks balls in the dirt. But Caratini is a guy who's underrated because he does that stuff, but he hasn't gotten a chance to do it in as many games and as many plate appearances and defensive innings. You think about what Caratini does well. He catches Yu Darvish, one of the hardest guys to catch because we're talking about a guy with velocity and like 8 different other pitches. Mm-hmm. He plays first base in a pinch. He came up and he played third base when he was the Braves a little bit until he played mostly first base and catcher. Mm-hmm. He's a guy who walks, he hits, he can hit for power. We could see him play some DH. David Ross has talked about not committing to a singular DH, and while I would prefer that Kyle Schwarber's the guy, maybe Ross has a point in mixing in Willson Contreras because keeps his bat in the lineup, gives him a day off from catching. Maybe it's Victor Caratini. We saw how Joe Madden used him in pinch spots. I mean, he was a good pinch hitter. You give him a couple more at-bats a game, maybe that confidence and maybe that development really takes off as a part-time DH. So the Cubs really have 3 guys that I really like for that DH spot, and 2 of them play catcher. Mm-hmm. And I think that could benefit them offensively, obviously, but also from like a rest and recuperation standpoint. Look, it's 60 games in 66 days. Guys are going to need a day off. Mm-hmm. So, especially in the catcher position. So using the DH might be the way to find that, to strike that balance. I really think that catching tandem is going to do good things for the Cubs.
Okay.
Yeah, I with Rizzo, if he's healthy, fine. Then that's an extra bat. Okay, fine. You don't have to worry about it. But if he's not, as they talked about, if it's structural, then I think the Cubs can be okay because of that. You got because Ian Happ could play first base as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So you got Ian Happ, you have Victor Caratini, and you could throw Willson Contreras in left field if you want to put him in first base. So you have a rotation you can put to keep him from squatting, 7, 10, 15 days in a row, while getting his bat in the lineup. Because Willson Contreras and me, I love Willson Contreras. Mm-hmm. He's a fiery guy. I mean, I wasn't happy he threw out Luis Robert the other day, but that's okay. That's another story. But I love his fieriness. I love his leadership. And let's keep it real. He was on an MVP pace a couple of years ago before he hurt his hamstring.
Yeah,
he was in an MVP conversation. Now, whether he wins it or not, I don't know. But just to be in that conversation shows you the level of talent that guy has. So keeping him in the lineup, or with Victor Caratini, with Schwarber, okay, with Ian Happ, keeping all those bats in the lineup. We talked about maybe 4. All of a sudden, now we're at 6 legitimate bats, maybe 7 out of 9. That's the pretty good lineup. So give me your overall prediction before because I want to switch gears a little bit. I know we kept you a little long, but I want to switch gears and talk Bears with you for a hot second. But give me your overall prediction and for this Cubs team in a very abbreviated 60-game set.
This is going to be my boldest prediction maybe ever.
Do it right here.
I think we're going to have a multi-team playoff at the end of the 60 games between the Brewers, Cardinals, Reds, and Cubs. Because all these teams, they all have strengths. It's like, oh, man, this team should win the division. They all have weaknesses like, this team ain't going to win nothing. I can see the end of the regular season where all these teams have like 31, 32 wins, 33 wins. And it's just like, cool. The Cubs got to play the Reds. And if they beat the Reds, then they got to play the Brewers. If they beat the Brewers, they got to beat the Cubs. Something crazy like that. We're going to see something weird happen at the end of this year. And I hope it's fun. I hope it's a fun kind of weird because baseball's had too much weird that's no good.
But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to start with the ending of the season because they play the good guys over on the south side for the last 3 games of the season.
That's going to be a hoot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. And if because they're talking about they may have fans later, if they have fans for that game, oh my God. How crazy! I've been quite a few crosstown games. Tailgating. My guy Hirsch. Actually, it's Hirsch's birthday today, Maya. You got to wish him a happy birthday, in a minute. But a couple crosstowns, but my buddy has these outings, and man, there's as many Cub jerseys that are Sox jerseys, in a thing. And if it's meaningful for either team, but especially because you have 4 good teams as opposed to the Sox have 3 in their division, it could be, there's some fireworks and those. And to me, that's going to be important. That's going to be awesome because now both teams are actually playing for something. Both teams actually are going to be in the mix. Both teams actually are talented, and both teams. And I know the Cubs won the World Series a few years ago and haven't been that far back. They're still talented. Let's call a spade a spade. They're still talented. Oh, yeah. So you have 2 talented teams, in their window, vying for positioning, jockeying for position in the last weekend, and they hate each other because they're crosstown rivals. How much better can it get for TV anyway?
It's going to make for great ratings and great TV.
Yes, it will.
Cool. So, hey, guys, we're with Luis Medina from Bleacher Nation, talking Cubs baseball. We're going to switch for a quick second because, my man does everything. I want to talk a little Bears football with you. Okay, first of all, all 7 draft picks are signed. How happy are you that Cole Kmet and Jaden Johnson are in the fold?
Oh, man, great. Feels good because, I had started to get worried because the Bears hadn't signed any of their draft picks. And draft picks have been slow to sign throughout the league. But a friend had been explaining to me, he's like, well, you got to get these guys into Hallis Hall. You got to get them tested. Got to get their physicals. The Bears brought in, I think the Bears did it the right way. They brought in everyone at the same time, got everyone tested and cleared up. And now you got everyone in camp. Now you got to find a way to cut 10 guys because the roster is going to go down from 90 to 80 to start training camp.
Yeah. So your thoughts on, we talked about this in the top of the morning, no preseason games in the NFL. How's that going to affect the Bears in this quarterback controversy that they're having?
I mean, go figure. Matt Nagy spent all season talking about how he made a mistake last year not playing the regulars during the preseason. Said all offseason that he was going to play guys preseason, and now we don't get preseason. So it works both ways. On one hand, no one's going to play guys in the preseason. There's no preseason. So everyone's on the same playing field. On the other hand, no team has a defense like the Bears. And if you're going to, figure out who's going to be your quarterback, I think I'd rather have them tested against guys like Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks instead of, the Browns defense or the Bills defense or the Broncos defense or, look, give me the best against the best. Last year, I kind of downplayed Mitch's issues against the Bears defense because, hey, it was the Bears defense. They're going to make guys look bad. I don't know if that broke his spirit or his confidence or whatnot, but, I'm not overlooking that this year. I'm not making that same mistake twice. So let the best man win, and if they can look respectable against those guys, they'll be just fine in the regular season.
Guys, he's Luis Medina. He works for Bleacher Nation, and he is a good friend of ours, and we appreciate his time. Hey, thank you, Papa. Do me a favor. Let everyone know where they can find you and your work online.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at LCM1986, at Bleacher Nation, at BN Bears, at Talking Toros. We haven't done a pod in a while, but we're still there somewhere. You should check out our Bull series when we did the Last Dance. And hopefully we get Outside the Ivy on NBC Sports Chicago up and running for this short season.
Great stuff, buddy. Good to have you on, as always. We will be in touch soon, all right?
Take care, guys.
All right.
It's good to be back.
Yes.
Great to have you. Guys, Luis Medina from Bleacher Nation. So the Cubs do have some options. And I'm telling you, Maya, I would love a red line World Series.
No, it's going to be a red town. That's the problem. There will be blood. No, I don't. You know what? I told somebody I'm leery of it. I'm like, because this whole quarantine pent up effect, that's just the release that people might be looking for. And that's not a good look right now. So I don't know. I might keep my distance from it just because of the fact that, I would love to see it, but the timing of it just would not be good. Good.
I got you. I feel you.
One thing I wanted to mention. I was hoping he got to mention a little bit of White Sox, just because there was this vibe those first 2 games, and like I know you saw it, Shawn, because there was just this vibe when you saw them interacting. You know what I mean? When they were showing the pregame, like they were getting to. There's this energy.
Yes,
you could see it. You could see it you can see it coming off of every single player, and that's something that is very scary, because if that team starts to have fun, like this year could be this year. This year could be the year. It could happen this year, especially under the circumstances.
They are having fun. That's the thing.
They're having fun.
They're having fun.
When they had Tim Anderson mic'd up, wasn't that awesome? And then he's talking to Jose. We're on NBC Sports Chicago, and he's like, "We're on NBC Sports Chicago."
He's getting everybody all hyped up. It was super cute.
And but that's exactly what you're talking about, Ivan. You're talking about just hanging out with the fellas. And I've had it on a lot of my football teams that I played. When you just genuinely like each other, when you love hanging out with each other, when you look forward to going to the ballpark the next day, but you're with those guys 8.5, 10 hours a day before, and looking forward to tomorrow, and then the next day.
Yeah. And you all have one common goal. You know what I mean? You all have this one common goal, and you all are genuinely enjoy being around each other, going after that, and that's something that's something that's not said that has to be a part of like a championship team.
And I would tell you, I think when the Cubs won the World Series, that type of energy was legitimately there, and people take that for granted. That being relaxed, enjoying what you're doing, and not getting ahead of yourself is part of the process. They have nothing. The White Sox have nothing to lose if they don't make it to the World Series, if they don't make it to the playoffs. It might be a little disappointing because you're like, given what you've seen so far, you're like, okay, there's something here, but that energy piece is so important. And let me tell you something. When I was watching the game on TV, I was not even interested in the fact that there was not a single fan in the stands.
No, me either.
I was actually dialed in to watching the game, and the whole missing fan thing didn't bother me. And I'll tell you from watching their interaction, I don't know. And here comes some smart ass comment. I don't Here it comes. Wait for it. I don't know how much they necessarily cared either, because they were so like into each other and they were focused. It just, the energy is there. And to me, I think that's a big piece of the puzzle to be able to fill, especially if you don't have fans. I mean, it's not going to just be in your stadium. You're going to be going around the country and there's going to be no one. And to be able to have that energy to kind of pump each other up is huge. It
looked like they were in mid-season form already. You haven't played game one. And you already had that, I guess that glow about you, you know what I mean? Like you already had that ish about you.
I hate to say this. I'm sorry, Maya, but this reminds me like the 2015 Cubs, just with a little more expectations. I think the Cubs in 2015, okay, this is, here's the beginning of their window. They should do well this year. And then in 2016, we really expect them to compete. Cubs are like, no, hold my beer. We're competing now.
But I'm willing to say that because I really feel like it's that kind of situation where it is very much like I said, it was that energy that when the Cubs won the world, it was that same youthfulness, that energy. Because here's the thing: even though they were looked at as a good team, I don't think the expectation initially was that. You know what I mean? No, they got there. But it was like, they're good. They can make the playoffs, but then they went far. I'm going to tell you the other thing that I found a little distressing. I said, please don't let this shake out because then it might cause problems. Adam Engel is not going to go away.
No.
And I kind of like it. I kind of like it. When he launched one out the park, he's like, you keep trying to write me off like I can't do things at the plate and just focus on my defense. Watch me work. I was like, I like Adam Engel. I'm like, there you go, buddy. Show him that you have value because defensively, the kid is off the chain. It's at the plate. So I was like, I like the fact that I feel like everybody is like playing with a chip on their shoulder. Because here's the thing, the people around you are good. So, you've got Lewis Roberts coming up and everyone's, now that's the chatter. Lewis. Mancado, like, hold on, wait. You know what I'm saying? Sit down. You know what I mean? Everybody they like each other, but they also can have this in squad competition. But I think it's healthy. I don't think it's like a negative thing. And I think
no jealousy. No, none at all. It's definitely healthy. And I follow you completely.
It seems really healthy. Like, man, okay, you did it. Okay, outdo me. You gonna outdo me? That's what I like about it. So it's fun. And like I said, I'd love to be at a game, but I'm okay with watching it on TV or even listening to it on the radio, which is a whole nother experience. And
I felt like it brought a whole a different type of focus to me watching the game. You know what I mean? Like I definitely was too dialed in more to like a little more to the details. You know what I mean? Like normally you get the pan of the crowd.
Didn't get any of that. Yes.
None of that. So your focus, it's all baseball. So you're like, if you're gonna watch this game, your mind better be working to keep up with the game because there's no breaks. It's not. You know what I mean? It's not the typical.
I will say that one of the games I was listening to on the radio because I was driving home, and I will say that I actually did miss Ed Farmer. I was like, I've always liked him, but he was missing in that broadcast to me. I was like, man. I mean, I've always liked him, so I have to say that they acknowledge that too, that he wasn't, obviously that we lost him, but I was like, I've always liked him. He was such a big piece of that. And it's sad to see that he won't maybe see what might be one of the best seasons, that he won't get to call a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Definitely miss him in being in the broadcast booth for radio. So
yeah, and Andy Mazur, the guy, he's been on our show, a good friend of ours. He talks about it as well. But he was like, he goes, it just feels weird.
It does.
Coming in his booth, he goes, and knowing it should be, Hawk and Stoney. I mean, Hawk and
Farmer.
Farmio. No, Farmio. It's not Hawk. Farmio. He goes, Farmio should be coming in here. He goes, and it just seems weird, and I get it. He was a staple. He's a South Side kid. Who grew up to play for the Sox and then broadcast for the Sox, and it's just I can understand how it would be kind of eerie, especially that first game. When he's not here. So
yeah. So I definitely
looking down.
I missed him. I can definitely say I missed him there. So all right.
Listen, we got to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, all right, we have more sports conversations. So don't go anywhere. We're going to pick up and talk a little Bears football right here on the other side. So don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Tough news for the Blackhawks as they get set to resume the NHL season. Jonathan Toews has been ruled unfit to participate and didn't practice with the team on Tuesday, a day after he left practice early. Meanwhile, GM Stan Bowman is hopeful Corey Crawford can return for the postseason. At this point, nothing's been ruled out, he said. The Blackhawks and Oilers are scheduled to play a 5-game qualifying round series. Cubs manager David Ross, ready for his first season at the helm, he told reporters how he's approaching things.
I've got a veteran team. I've got a veteran organization. Guys that have been around a long time. I've got a great coaching staff that's helped me in my first year take care of all these little details, and I think we're moving in the right direction. It's been fun, and we can't wait to get started.
The Cubs open the season Friday against the Brewers. The White Sox are home against the Twins. Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep. Chuck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Breathe out and repeat after me. Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Your bird is eating my candles.
Your bird is eating my candles.
No, seriously, he's making a mess.
No, seriously.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Get a customized quote at libertymutual.com.
Hey, save that bee. We need him.
Did you know pollinators are more than just honeybees? Did you know 1 in 3 bites of food is made possible by pollinators? That's why Prairie View A&M Cooperative Extension is planting for pollinators this summer. Design your own pollinator garden. Take photos and share. Visit agnearme.com. That's agnearme.com to download our pollinator garden guide today. Let's get planting.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. Just got off the air with our good buddy Louis Medina, and it was it was a good piece. I know you were dying to get in there, Papa. That's why I had to bring you in.
Yeah, thanks. I was like, man, I want to know how he felt about that in particular, that question. I was glad you brought that up.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we did mention the Bears a little bit, and this whole NFL thing is still it's still up in the air. I'm honestly concerned about the season.
Okay, wait. Before you jump into this, you know what? We don't do enough of this, and because it just happened, I gotta promote this. So the app is evolving.
Always.
The app is evolving. So here's the cool thing. So now you can watch the show in the app. So now the live shows, you can listen to it, you can watch it. So if you happen to be one of those people at work, and you're not supposed to be on Facebook or YouTube, you can put it on your phone and listen to the show. If you update the app, here's what's cool. Like, it just gave me the alert that Patrick Beverley has to exit the bubble for personal reasons. So our app now gives you like little updates. It'll alert you like, hey, breaking news.
That's awesome.
Just saying. So the app is evolving. So make sure you go download it. You go to the iTunes, Google Play, or Amazon store. You download it. We make it easy too. we have like, kind of a pseudo website for it where you can read our daily blogs. That's where the alerts come from. But also you can download the actual app from that link as well, directly to the stores. So if you have not downloaded SportsZone Chicago, you need to do so immediately. Okay. I just had to say that because it gave me my little alert on my iPhone.
Do it.
Hey,
right.
You know what? Before we go on, I want to say let's wish my man a happy birthday. A good friend of mine and of ours, and he supports the show. He's been behind us since day one. So I want to wish my guy Hirsch Mosqueda.
Hershey,
Hershey boy,
man, we've missed our tailgates. I'll tell you something. I've missed those. So
it is definitely one of those years where we needed those tailgates, and we miss them. And I just want to wish him a happy birthday. It's we missed those. We can't wait until we're able to go back to another Hirsch outing soon. And hopefully that they happen toward the end of the year, but if not, we'll have to wait till next year. But man, Hirsch outings are the ish, man.
Oh yes, they are.
Yeah, the ish with the taquisas, all you can eat tacos, then the house music, and then the alcohol table when you're in line for the tacos. It is it's a blast.
By the time you get into the game, you are so game ready.
You know what, Maya? That might be one of the best descriptions I've ever heard. You are game ready.
You're game ready. You're like, yes. you are game ready. Don't need those before. Actually, no. We did go to one during like last year's Crosstown, and it was so funny because here comes. See, they don't do it like that on the north side.
No.
In fact, the output, that's on the north side. When people walk by and the windows are open, they're like, what kind of party's happening over here? Because they're not used to that kind of fun. So the Cub fans kept migrating over a little. We're like, what are you doing over here? You're lucky you get to tailgate. Why are you over here in our space? Seriously.
They're like, they want to tailgate. Like,
they was like, you got tacos and liquor? What? Wait a minute. And y'all dancing in the parking lot to house music? What is going on?
So this is what it's like on the south side, huh? Oh my God.
Oh, so okay. This whole part of the south side is okay. Okay. I feel safe in the parking lot.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, if you've been to Guaranteed Rate Field, I'll call it that, whatever. Truth be told, everything around that stadium has evolved.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's evolving. I would say it's evolving. I think, but you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot more to be done, but it's a step.
Hey, when you got $1 million homes over there.
Well, that's the thing. It's like
Hershey boy said, "What's up, my friends?" Hershey boy.
Right, we miss you. I think it's time I make a visit to Output because I haven't been around. So I'm like, I have to see when everybody's going to gather with 50 people or less, and so I can show up and hang out with everybody. But it has changed in the sense that it'll never be exactly like Wrigley because it is residential.
Mm-hmm.
But those residential places, the housing value has gone up. I'm gonna be honest, the public housing is pretty much gone. It's not really around.
Just that one spot when you come in off of 39th Street.
Right.
There's that one spot of the LoJacks that until they figure out where they can place the people who are in the public housing. Once they can find out where to put them, I guarantee you that's going to be level and those are going to be townhomes.
Don't say where to put them. That does not sound right. So we just
have people in that.
I know exactly what you mean. Just don't say it because it don't sound right. We can put them. Don't say it. Just leave it alone. But you're right. That's that one area that's there because once you go over, I'm so bad at this. The Dan Ryan, I'm so bad.
Ryan.
I've been in Chicago my entire life, and I still can't get my. I know the Stevenson because I'm on that one all the time. But once you cross over, because
the Ryan,
that whole area is developed because of the school being there. So they've got stuff there. There's a couple of restaurants that have popped up when you go down to Halstead. So there's stuff there, but it'll never look exactly like Wrigley because it's very residential. So
Right.
it's got the little pockets. But the thing I like about it is you can just jump off of Metro or you can be on whatever L you're on and just walk to the stadium. So even if you don't want to drive, you can get to it from so many ways. So it's evolving. But yeah, I know that Cub fans feel safe in our parking lot.
Yeah. So again, happy birthday, Hirsch. We love you, buddy, and we can't wait to see you at another. So you have another Hirsch outing because that's going to be off the chain. I think people are just going to explode, and it's going to be. I don't know how many of us are actually going to make it into the. So we'll be more than game. We'll be after game ready at that point. Like
that might be the day I need to take the train to the city. So don't drive at all. Just train in, train out.
You had me at tacos and liquor.
I told you. And then the music's going. So like tacos, liquor, and they dancing. What's going on here? Seriously. Yeah, it's a party like, and then they were looking and they start walking down and I'm like, and of course there's always a couple people with it at the outing that are friends of Sox people, so they're there anyways and they're Cub stuff. So there always are some Cub people that come to the events anyways. That's funny to me. It's like, oh, you
gotta
guys
stay by your buddy. Yeah, you gotta stay by. Don't wander off away from your buddy.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's how Sox fans, generally speaking, are very. We don't make a big deal out of it because I see people in Cub stuff all the time, and it's like, oh, what are you doing here? Because, allegedly you don't want to be on this side of town. I'm not talking about for crosstown either. They'll pop up, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing here? And I told you I don't want any pop-ups as the season moves along. I already told him, Joseph, you're banned. Ivan, you're banned. So
what if I have to do work? What if I have to do
right. We'll find some work for you to do. Right. Yeah.
We can work from home. Everybody else is.
I'm telling you, because the energy is there. And Cub fans know it. It's exciting. Like, okay, if this really takes off, they're gonna. I know it. It's just like the World Series. They needed something, so they showed up, and then it turns into it's all about Chicago love. Get out.
When someone says that,
stay away from that.
I'm gonna tell you something.
I'm a Chicago fan. I'm like, oh.
I rooted for the when they were I was rooting for every other team. Cleveland was in it. That was my division. Yep. I was all about Cleveland. I was saying all kind of stuff. I never switched my allegiance whatsoever. So no. I did not root for the Cubs. I was like, nope. Someone's like, how could you be like that? I'm like, because I'm not a Cub fan. Ever.
Hey, Cleveland blew a 3-1 lead.
They sure did. And I said, that's how you knew.
Just to let everybody know.
The thing is, and this is how you knew the Cubs were supposed to win that, because when things align like that, I'm serious, you're like, they were meant to win. I was like, because Cleveland gave that away. If you think about it, they gave it away.
It happened in a way. I'll say this real quick because I could talk about it all day, but I'll just say this about it. They won in a way where everything that you think about the Cubs, everything going wrong, they just overcame that. You know what I mean? All in one game, all in that game 7. They had the lead, they blew it. You thought they were going to be the lovable losers again. I'm sure you guys are happy. I'm sure Rajai Davis is going to be your number. You're probably going to buy a Rajai Davis jersey.
Rajai Davis jersey, boy.
Jersey and put it on. Frame it. Rajai, this is the one, even though it wasn't. But you know what I'm saying? Like they just did it. They just beat every obstacle.
I was very happy for Javi, and that was about it. I was like, baby, yes, that was it. Everybody else, I was like, whatever. And I did actually, you know what? I actually did like Joe Madden. As a manager, I liked Joe Madden. I have respect for him. So, you know what? Here's what's weird thing. I can't tell you that I necessarily hate the Cubs as much as I hate the fans. That's what the problem is. This is what the problem is. As a team, I actually like some of your players. I really do.
Yes, it's the fan base.
It's the fan base. And the thing is, I wasn't always like that. But even when I try to be like even keel and not say something, they'll come out the woodworks and start talking trash. And I'll be like, see,
Becky, got to slow down.
It's like, I don't know why you talking, because you know I can kick your ass. That's the first thing, because you can't beat me in no fight. I was like, you do know.
Unleashed.
Yeah. And you do know. If we even have a World Series like this, there is something for you to be afraid of. So just know all that smack you was talking about and then if we win it, the stomp down is going to be. You thought it was a big deal when the Bulls won? Oh my God, it's going to be so bad. We coming to tear up the North Side. We gonna be ignorant outside and be like, this is how savage we are. We're gonna come tear your stuff up.
Not ignorant, ignorant. IGNANT, ignorant.
We gonna go egg Wrigley Field and throw toilet paper on it and TP it. I'm kidding. No, we wouldn't. It would be a great series. I'm just afraid of what might happen in a quarantine year. That's my thing. That's my only thing. It'll be a good series. I think, especially if it's these two teams.
Yeah, I hope so. I think, and again, I don't know why Major League Baseball hasn't gone out of their way to have a day-night doubleheader. It just doesn't make sense to me. One at Wrigley and daytime at Wrigley, and then have a 12 o'clock start at Wrigley. And
no, because they know no one would be sober enough to make it to the nighttime game.
But there's only
insane. That'd be gridlock.
You have about 5,000 people who could make it, but then the people who couldn't get the Cubs games, Sox fans will go to the Sox games. So, we have more than enough fans. Combined, we definitely have more than enough fans to fill up both stadiums with mostly Cub fans. Well, both games. The intoxicated ones, they won't make the second game, but that's okay.
You'd figure each stadium would just hold the majority of its own fans. You know what I'm saying? So you can kind of, if you do have a doubleheader, you kind of avoid. You know what I'm saying?
Especially about 5,000 Sox fans will be there.
Right. Unless you're falling like that, you know what I'm saying? And you can afford 2 World Series tickets, on the same day, go ahead. But, for me, I would just say you just have a little sprinkle here and there.
I mean, probably. I don't know. Either way, well, we'll see. Cross our fingers. We'll see what happens because that'd be quite the show. I'm just going to say that. Even though I got some different predictions about who might be making it to the World Series, and I'll be honest, it's neither one. I don't have either Chicago team, just because I'm with my other side piece team, the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm,
oh my goodness, Lord! But the Braves, I'm telling you, watch the Braves this season. Anyways, but that's baseball.
Yeah, we digress. We were talking a little bit about the Bears and the NFL. We talked about no preseason games.
Right.
What do you think?
Go back to dysfunction. Let's go back to dysfunction now. Okay.
Yeah. So how is this? 95 players got tested or tested positive for COVID-19, and one of the things that scares me again is if certain people come down with it. Would it be? First of all, is it feasible to push the season to the spring?
Here's the thing. Everything can be in the spring. That's just
sports overload.
Okay, we went from nothing to oh my gosh, just trying to get everything in there. Here's the thing. Professional sports has the ability to attempt to put more safety measures in place than college and even high school. Let's look at it that way. But the problem is, for instance, the NBA bubble. People are leaving the bubble, coming back. Now you got problems. So I'm not surprised that 95 players tested positive because here's what people keep forgetting. They're human like everybody else. And nobody goes out seeking to get COVID-19. But we're now in that phase where you have so many people that are asymptomatic. You could be interacting with someone and have no idea they have it, even they're not displaying symptoms. That's the other thing, too. So the contact piece is hard. So either this is why the NBA wants the bubble to work. If we can just try to quarantine our people and keep you to the side and then avoid any other contact. Well, no, that means anybody involved in NBA needs to be quarantined. That means refs, that means people who cook your meals, people who clean your hotel rooms. Everybody needs to be gridlocked and not able to leave if you truly want to contain it. And that's that goes above and beyond what's required. And that's actually not what's happening. But it still can reduce the player's exposure piece to it. So no, you can't push everything to the spring, but I'm not surprised that many people tested positive because that's a lot of people in the NFL. They all have families and friends and other interactions that they have. So I'm not surprised. Look at it. People that are in politics have gotten it. Senators, people in the president's cabinet has gotten it. You know what I'm saying? That just goes to show you how contagious this really is.
How non-discriminatory it is.
And you know what? And it's not. COVID's if you step out, I'll get you. That's just how it is. It doesn't, even though people may think because there are more groups of people that tend to be black and brown that are more affected, but we realize there are variables that impact that. In regards to density, population, proximity, public transportation, there's all these things that play into certain groups of people really contracting it. But I'm not surprised by that number. It is what it is. We're still seeing cases all the time, so I'm not surprised.
So I don't know. Obviously the fan bases won't be able to attend games initially. I know they said they're seeing they can maybe get some fan base fans allowed later in the season, but I know initially to start off the season there's going to be no fans. And baseball is bad enough because baseball is a slow sport to begin with, and just every so often you have highs and lows. But on football, it's the emotion and the amount, the excitement, the energy that these players draw. A lot of it is from the fans, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they play and then watch an actual live football game without fans and to hear the popping a lot louder because it's going to echo through the stadium. And we're going to hear it on TV, unless they pipe in that noise, which I hope they don't. But
might as well.
It's going to be really, really weird just to check out an actual NFL game with no fans.
It's okay, but here's the thing. I thought that about baseball, but I got so focused on the game. And remember, they don't show you the arena.
Right.
So we're going to see, here's the difference. It's about if they can be very creative with the NFL because you got some more sideline movement. So you can mic up a couple more people. You should have more interactions from sideline reporters. You can now do different camera angles. There are ways that they can fill the time and just remove the whole fan aspect from it. That's all. You just take away the fan experience. That's it. Unless you want to be really creative and you create a fan experience which would be dangerous, where you maybe could insert fan like Twitter feeds and stuff, which would be interesting. But then you got to watch people because people say ignorant stuff. That's why we can't have nice things because somebody will say something stupid. And then that'd be in the Twitter feed. But there are different things that they could do. Actually, I think creating a social media platform that's interactive in the game could be amazing. Now, it wouldn't be exactly real time, but what they could do is say you have people on Instagram, like groups of people watching it, little COVID parties. I'm kidding.
There's already COVID parties, Maya. Already.
But no, actually, people you can be together with up to 50 people, and it's probably people even though that doesn't mean you still can't get it. But how they could make it interactive, like in screen, like they could literally have you got to screen it, but you look at a feed, and then you say a person's cheering when somebody has a touchdown, and you show those people cheering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can create the fan experience. You just have to kind of filter how you use it. So social media all of a sudden could be a whole different involvement point. Go ahead, NFL, take my idea. And not pay me for it. I don't get paid for 50% of the things that I tell people to go do. And then you have a Twitter feed also, and they just got to monitor it. You don't let people in, that aren't. You got to just make sure before you put something into the broadcast that you've censored what they've said. That's all.
I think what Major League Baseball did was I think they went from 11 camera angles to 24.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're gonna be, like you said, a whole type of a whole different experience, watching it. It's going to be different. But for football, imagine if you had, you're going to have fans. Imagine if you had imagine if it had a camera, almost like at ground level, but not a little elevated. You can have a camera. You can have a camera in any position in the stadium.
You can have all kinds of angles.
Mm-hmm.
And if they really wanted to be fun about the fan experience, they should handpick fans to be part of their social media experience.
Yeah.
Be that number one fan. And maybe for that game, they pick, say it was the Bears in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
You may pick 20 or 30 fans from each side, and then you kind of vet them to make sure, look, we're going to show your tweets. If you're on Instagram, we'll show your video, and I hope people can agree to it and act right. But you could create an interesting fan experience. If you want to be the ultimate Bears fan and represent the crowd, here's what you got to do.
That's a great idea, Maya. That's a great idea.
I know.
Damn, that's a great idea. Holy cow!
I mean, and the thing is, you can cherry pick people. Hey, we're having you do this. We understand we need you to be respectable, and you hope people act right is what it is. But you could create that fan experience by using social media into it.
You know what I don't like? I don't like the fan cardboard cutouts. I don't like the fan cardboard. Somebody had their dog up there the other game.
I think it's kind of funny, paper
dolls.
I
was like, what the hell? I was all right, that's enough. I was like, that's enough. I'm done. I was like, I don't want to. I was like, I barely want to see you when you were allowed in the game. So now I got to see your cardboard cutout.
Or the other thing you can do is they can have remote social media teams if you want to control it, which means each team maybe goes in your city being featured. Maybe you pick a bar or something. Even though Chicago is trying to shut the inside of their bars down.
Yes, they are.
So.
Friday.
Or you have some kind of watch party or something, but if that wasn't the case here, and then your team would be inside and someone would be doing interviews with fans, what do you think about this? What about that? And then when they score, you show the fans cheering. That would be another thing, having social media teams that would go out and create the content for the streaming. And that'd be another way to have control. So, it's
with Tele Chicago when I was with Tele Chicago in the World Cup. Was going on. They'd have World Cup parties, and we would go to various bars and get their feedback and the reaction.
So it's there's so many different things that but understand they're doing this on the fly, so they weren't prepared for this. But I say maybe you don't start at the beginning of the season, but maybe you can get it together by mid-season, And then
they're a multi-billion-dollar entity.
No.
They can come up with some stuff.
Oh, you could. You just have to create. You just have to create the social media teams. They do remote stuff all the time. You see it. They would just have to. They would have to put it together.
Money.
And actually, how we can actually, if they really wanted to vet it, they could be like, we're hosting the social media party. And we're going to select the top fans. You got to like try to be a fan to get in. So now you're controlling who's in there. And then now you can just set everything up. So now it's a more controlled environment to make sure you don't get stupid people and they're doing ridiculous things. So, I mean, there's way you can get the fan experience to be there. But again, I don't know that I need that. I don't know that I need someone cheering because someone scored a touchdown.
Because you know, when you watch the game, like actually the whole thing's on the field. And it's just, you just hear the fan crowd, the noise because of the angle, because of the TV, the camera angle. They're usually up high and they shoot it down. Mm-hmm. So it's literally just on the field. You might get a little bit of fan, the friends in the first couple of rows, but fans isn't. Us seeing the fans isn't a priority. Us hearing them, that's another story.
Well, why don't we do this? Won't they be like the NBA and when like there's timeouts and stuff, they play music? No, you don't do that in the NBA and NFL really. So substituted some music and you'll be like, listen, like, okay.
I prefer the cursing.
You want the cursing instead? You want the curse? You want the curse music instead?
Yeah, no. Just to hear them live cursing and saying, like good day.
That's funny. When that slips into the broadcast, I think it's funny. Like people, they're human. Get over it. It's not the first time you heard a bad word, and it won't be the last time. Stop acting like you've never heard a bad word before. But
Well, listen, let's take our last break and then come back real quick and round us off. We're going to talk a little bit about the Blackhawks. Wow, 2 of their stars now are unfit to play. So we're going to talk about those on the other side of the break. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Tough news for the Blackhawks as they get set to resume the NHL season. Jonathan Toews has been ruled unfit to participate and didn't practice with the team on Tuesday, a day after he left practice early. Meanwhile, GM Stan Bowman is hopeful Corey Crawford can return for the postseason. At this point, nothing's been ruled out, he said. The Blackhawks and Oilers are scheduled to play a 5-game qualifying round series. Cubs manager David Ross, ready for his first season at the helm, he told reporters how he's approaching things.
I've got a veteran team. I've got a veteran organization, guys that have been around a long time. I've got a great coaching staff that's helped me in my first year take care of all these little details. And I think we're moving in the right direction. It's been fun, and we can't wait to get started.
The Cubs open the season Friday against the Brewers. The White Sox are home against the Twins. Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep. Chuck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Breathe out and repeat after me. Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Your bird is eating my candles.
Your bird is eating my candles.
No, seriously, he's making a mess.
No, seriously.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Get a customized quote at libertymutual.com.
Hey, save that bee. We need him.
Did you know pollinators are more than just honeybees? Did you know 1 in 3 bites of food is made possible by pollinators? That's why Prairie View A&M Cooperative Extension is planting for pollinators this summer. Design your own pollinator garden. Take photos and share. Visit agnearme.com. That's agnearme.com to download our pollinator garden guide today. Let's get planting.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition. And you heard in the update, the Blackhawks. Wow, Jonathan Toews left practice early on Monday, I believe, and then practiced yesterday. So he's unfit to participate, and this is after Corey Crawford has been deemed unfit to participate. So this is this is the general term that they're using.
I don't like it.
Injury. I don't either. It has such a negative connotation.
Well, it's very ambiguous is what the problem is. Which, by the way, hockey has always been ambiguous. It's an upper body, a lower body. Well, let's see. Upper body. We got arms, neck, head, chest. I mean, what are we talking? Lower, we got legs, feet, knees. I mean, what are we talking? So they've always been ambiguous when it talked about injury, so to speak. But I think the difference this time, now see, when it was just Corey Crawford, we were really speculating it meant more. We know that that's not the same conversation with Taze, so to speak. So the question is, why they would be reluctant to mention COVID, but maybe the NHL kind of said we prefer not to speak to that.
Yeah, remember the HIPAA laws. The player has to agree to it. So
so we're looking at that piece of it. So I'm like, not fit. So what does that mean?
And we know the captain's not the type of guy who's going to be out of shape ever.
Right.
That's not the captain.
Right.
So
right.
It does lead to that. Because remember when they said when Yoel Moncada was out, they said, oh, he'll be back. They just he had it, and so they didn't use that term, but they just kind of glossed over it. And maybe this is a situation where the captain did have it or does have it, or I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, if somebody else turns up unfit, then we know they got it.
Yeah.
Because they're in contact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so if one more unfit person pops up on the radar, then that probably means there's an incident of COVID that they're dealing with. And go from there. And we'll see how long they'll be gone and stuff like that. But obviously, unfit for long term doesn't work because they need Taze. There's no doubt about it. Because they're about to walk into a series that, let's just say, is not easy.
No, yeah, that's an understatement. And to miss your top goalie, to miss your captain. I mean, it was going to be a tough series to begin with, and without those two, why even bother? I mean, they're leaving for Edmonton on Sunday, and if they're not on the plane, they'll come back to Chicago down 2-0. That's simple. I just don't see it happening. So it's unfortunate for that. Hey, you know what? We didn't get to one of the top of the morning topics that I wanted to talk about. I was pretty happy about this. Kevin Garnett. KG, Chicago's very own via South Carolina, is interested in buying the Minnesota Timberwolves. Maya, stuff like this just gets me fired up and it makes me so happy when you see athletes. And let's be real, Kevin doesn't have formal education. He came out of high school. He left Farragut High School, went to the NBA right from there. When you start getting into this type of arena, pun intended. Now you're balling. Okay, now you're in a situation where you're looking at generational wealth for you, your family, your grandchildren's grandchildren, and from a guy who came from South Carolina to Chicago with no formal education. I mean, he might have taken some classes while he was, playing up in Minnesota, but to do that, and now he's on the verge, or he's interested in buying a professional sports franchise. I just think that's awesome.
Well,
he's being one of us.
It is, but he's going to probably have to go get a conglomerate because
It's
already been put on the table that the owner of the Minnesota Vikings, the With family, is interested in purchasing the Timberwolves. I'm a Vikings fan, and I kind of took exception to their attitude about the anthem protest. I didn't care for their response about it. I felt it was very insulting, and they tried to talk about it like from an immigrant point of view. And I was like, you can kick rocks with that, blah, 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 blah. So I'm interested in them not being able to own the Timberwolves, and hopefully Kevin Garnett can get some other people to rally around him to be able to purchase the team. But obviously we know that the Will family is sitting on money already. I'd like to see them not own the Timberwolves as well as the Vikings. I'd like to not see that. So I think KG would be a great fit. Go get your friends. You know what? And this is that thing we talked about last week, how with the Mets, you actually had active players in Travis Kelce. What?
Maya's man. That's your man's.
Being like a minority owner. So my thing is, this again could be a great opportunity for active players. You're buying into a franchise that is established. It can go well. So to me, it's like, go get your money. People, come together, make this work. Because it's not often that teams come up for sale this way.
Right.
So this is a great opportunity to try to put money together to purchase this team. So I hope that it falls in the favor of Kevin Garnett and whoever else he can get to come on board with him on this.
Yeah, I just think it would be a great thing. I'm a big KG fan. I have not a personal story, but a secondhand story of a buddy of mine. So, and I've always loved KG. I mean, you always find him on the west side. I remember that's where that's the lower where he went to school was Farragut. And just you'll see him at Home Run and Pizza whenever he's in town. He's always got a posse with him. And just the story is really funny. So my buddy Caesar is from Little Village over there, and he was just a manual worker, a hard working guy. He said one day he got off work and he was hungry, so he's like, I'll stop and get a small pizza, and Home Run Inn. So he walks in, he's waiting, and all he could afford was a small cheese and sausage. So he goes, this is right after KG signed his $100 million contract. So he goes, all of a sudden KG walks in, and he's got a posse with him. And on his shirt he had the Biggie song, More Money, More Problems. And my buddy Caesar, he goes, in my head, he goes, because I couldn't say it to KG, he goes, because I get my ass kicked because he was in a posse. He goes, but in my head, I'm like, screw you, More Money, More Problems. He goes, I can't even afford mushrooms on my pizza, and you're coming in with more money, more problems.
Well, different kind of problems. It's not about mushrooms on your pizza, Caesar.
Oh my God, I'm telling you. And to see my guy Caesar tell the story, because he's a very animated guy.
I'm sure it's funny.
It was hilarious. He's like, F you, more money, more problems. I can't get mushrooms on my pizza.
Another so much stuff happens that we can't always fit into the story, but something else that kind of has crept up in between, talk about former athletes doing things. I'm not sure if you heard, but Tracy McGrady and Jermaine O'Neal are teaming up to create a players agency, a sports agency. And I think this is fantastic because it's probably long overdue that you got former athletes getting into this arena because they understand what you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? You know how you get coaches, you get players that become coaches and you say, oh, they can understand obviously both sides of the coin because they've been a player and they get the challenges of being a coach. So I think it's good to see that they're launching this sports agency and looking to kind of, obviously impact and work with, I'm guessing the timing of this is pristine because especially when you look at 2021 being the end of the, the one and done, especially with college basketball, that means that opens up a lot of eligible players coming out of high school, AAU basketball, et cetera, et cetera. So for them to have that kind of report and want to go in, a lot of they'll probably get some inroads into a lot of communities where other agents don't have the same inroads.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because you're on the pulse. You got friends. Your agent was. You're probably you're in a stable of your former agent who's got other stable of players, and now you have access to those players. You have access and it's a lot more credible, especially now at this time of day. It's a lot more credible when you get a guy who's just there, just doing it, and who looks like you and is there to represent you. Okay.
And they did say that how they're planning to set it up is that McGrady is going to be a co-owner of the agency, but he's going to be the player advisor. So working with the players on lots of their choices about investments and decision-making and things like that, which is really needed. Because sometimes I feel a lot of agents, I'm not saying they don't do it, but I don't think they overdo it. So knowing that you've got this guy, I've been there, done that, trust me, I understand that seems like a good idea. That's not a good idea. And then Jermaine O'Neal, on the other hand, he's going to be taking the test to be an agent. So he's going to actually be the agent, and he's going to be a co-owner, but he's going to be the agent arm of the agency. So, McGrady's going to be your player advisor, and then Jermaine's going to be the one who's going to be doing the actual, contracts and stuff like that. I like it. They were both very respectable, good players. I think they bring a lot to the table. Like you said, I think they bring respectability. I feel like this area is often overlooked because it's not the same as being an owner or a coach, but there's a need for more black and brown faces to be agents to represent so many people who get into professional sports. So,
who better to understand what these players are going to go through than players who've gone through what these players are going to go through.
Right. Like, dude, been there, done that. I want you to do better than I did, especially from the financial side. People talk about changing the trajectory of your family with this money, but look how many people don't really do it because they mismanage it. I can help you do better coming out the gates. So I think it's a good matchup. So I wish them success with their agency.
Yeah, that's gonna be good stuff.
Anything is possible. God, I clowned him for like 3 weeks when he did that. So it was funny to me.
I know. So it's always news popping up all the time. So we got a show coming up at noon, La Vida Baseball.
The baseball is going to be out. Yep, with Ozzie Guillen Jr., Julie Alexandria, and Jennifer Mercedes. Man, definitely got to check that out. Those girls.
I think it's worth it because they're going to give you the quick down and dirty about what happened with the start of baseball with the camps and stuff. Because they don't look just like at Chicago, though. I got a feeling we're going to hear a little bit about some of you'll hear about Chicago, but they get around the league. So if you're a baseball person, you definitely want to tune in because they definitely give you insight, and it's totally objective. That's what I love about it. It's objective. Even Ozzie,
they have no loyalties.
Even Ozzie is objective in his perspective on this show. So definitely stay tuned at noon for Livy to Baseball.
Yeah, 12 o'clock is going to be a good show, and I listen to those guys when I get a chance. Usually I'm running around right after the show doing what I got to do over here, but I do like to listen to them because it is very removed from Chicago, and which helps because we're in Chicago, so we have our allegiances, and sometimes we look through White Sox colored glasses at times, but it's always good to get to know.
I think I'm balanced.
I see sometimes.
I mean, because I watch a lot. I've been watching all other games. I'm just interested. I'm interested. Yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting and fun season, to tell you the truth. So I do catch them most of the time to get their insight about stuff that's going on. So I highly recommend you check them out. Mondays and Wednesdays, always noon, right here on the SportsZone Chicago. Remember, you can listen live on the app. We have an app evolution, so now you can watch the shows on the app. So how do you get it? Well, go to iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, download it, or we make it easy for you. You can go to our little kind of app page and download it, as well as check out our daily blog and get the big alerts on stories too. I'm so excited. I keep getting alerts.
You keep getting buzzed.
It's like, hey. I'm like, oh, what happened? Really? Good stuff. So get the app. I told you it's evolving. It's doing all kinds of stuff. Remember, podcasts are on there too. So if you missed any previous shows, you can listen to the shows, and the videos are there too, so you can watch the shows. Remember, we are just all things SportsZone Chicago, so make sure you check it out.
Yeah, it's I'm so happy. And then we just got we put that up. I think we put it up on our Facebook page, and we definitely got to have it on the app. The article that Joseph did for us, Joe Phillips did for us.
Yes.
Chicago Crusader.
Yep. Check it out because there'll be stories about everybody on the show. And actually, what I tried to put on the app was kind of a loose schedule, so you can see when we're on. I talked about D and Davis when they're on, Levita Baseball, the Humidor Cigars and Sports Show, Windy City Fantasy.
What's up, cuz?
What's up, cuz? I started plugging in all the show times on the watch page, so you can know exactly when those shows and what time they were aired, so you can be involved. So yeah, definitely get the app. It's all things SportsZone Chicago.
Dude, What's Up, Cuz is coming out with bangers.
Dude, okay.
These were songs. They'd be straight bangers.
The first show,
my God.
Which I got to go back and we got to cut some clips up to show it. The Tim Hardaway interview. Here's why What's Up, Cuz is such an awesome show. People come on their show and it doesn't feel like an interview. You feel like you're a fly on the wall hearing a conversation happen, and everybody is so relaxed. Like the show on Monday, okay, awesome. They had on Bob Kendrick, who is the president of the Negro Baseball Museum. Man, I got to cut that. He dropped some nuggets. He said some stuff about the league that I was like, I never really thought about it like that. I mean, the fact I forgot that women played in the Negro leagues as well. He was a great interview. And then we had on we were fair. We had on Julian Green, who is the vice president of communications, community affairs for the Cubs, talking about the Cubs, the fan experience, just kind of making it through the season. And by the way, he's a Chicago guy. He went to Julian, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So they bring on all these people who just jump into these conversations, and they're so personal. So I don't want to announce guests, but now they're stacking like a good Blackhawk guest. And some other people. So it's going to be another banger on Monday. I'm going to tell you. Man,
when you told me initially the list of people that they had, and then they were confirmed. So they had a couple shows confirmed, and then you told me who was calling them because they wanted to be on the show. I was like, is it the same dude from back in the day? You're like, yeah.
Okay. They get phone calls from people like, man, I got to be on your, why? Because it's just like hanging out with your friends, having a great conversation. And the thing is, the level of honesty and transparency with people, like, I'm like, did they just realize that they were doing an interview? I'm not saying they said anything bad, but like, it's so transparent. Like, I'm going to go back. I got to go back and cut out some of that Tim Hardaway interview and repost it, because he was just talking about his experience being a player, and then after being a player, and his son is now plays for the Mavericks.
Yeah,
and how he almost stopped playing basketball because of him.
Yep.
I mean, it was that just came out of nowhere, and I was like, "Whoa! I didn't expect you to start talking about this." Also, check out. I'm gonna give him a shameless plug because it's worth it. He has a watch company called Benjamin Banneker Watches and Clocks. Some pretty fly watches. So Google Benjamin Banneker. If you don't know, he was the architect for the layout of Washington D.C. Just if you know that, a freed slave. Check it out. Really, I'm not a watch person, but I peep one besides my Apple Watch because it serves a purpose for me. But there's some watches. I was like, okay, I'm digging this watch. I'm going to get one. So check out his watch stuff too. It's good stuff.
Check it out. Well, listen, guys, 2 hours has come and gone. Unbelievable. I want to thank my guest, Joseph Phillips. He comes on with us every morning, every time we're on for top of the morning. Thanks for coming on, Papa. We appreciate it. A big shout out to Luis Medina from Bleacher Nation for coming on and talking Cubs and Bears with us. It's always good to talk to Luis and have him on with us. Then, of course, my man here, the Wiz himself, the man behind the curtain, our Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, Ivan Vargas. Thank you, Papa. We appreciate it. You make us look good, and you keep everything running smoothly, and we truly appreciate it. Maya, 2 hours is come and gone, man.
Yes.
Wow. Unbelievable. I can't wait to get back to 3 because now we need 3.
We're probably almost now that we can go to 3 Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're probably there now. We can probably go back to 3 hours. It makes sense.
Well, we'll talk to the owners and see what they say.
See what they say about it. Yeah.
But so we'll be back. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go on a 46-hour break. It's a small break, and we'll be back on Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So for the Wiz, my man, Ivan Vargas, that's your cue to say goodbye.
Okay. Bye, Ivan.
He's frozen. And then you see my girl, the little savage herself, who's coming out. She was so savage today. What a new hair did. Look at that. Look at her new hair did. I love it. I love it.
Haircut time. I got 3 words, though, for today, not 2.
All right. Well, I'm able to back.
Get the app. Get the app.
There you go.
Get the app.
I got 3 words for you. Get the app.
There you go.
All right. We'll see you Friday.
All right, everybody. Ciao.